Alright, welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This is an update and edit to the previous arranging nodes. I have since removed that video. This is a bit of an update to some of the issues from the previous video, so we'll hopefully get a lot more of that cleaned up. So let's just jump right into this. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to hop over to Geometry Nodes. We're going to hit New and pull this up so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to get rid of these two. We're just going to get rid of it so we can just kind of accentuate the core concepts described in this particular document. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to go a little backwards. We're going to show auto offset first, and then we're going to get into snapping. So for auto offset, I'm just going to, and again, this isn't anything specific, I'm just going to grab a few things here that I can just kind of show what's going on. And I'm going to scooch them in a little close, nice and tight. And now I'm going to grab a third node, I'm sorry. Grab a third node. Again, it doesn't really matter what it is, just for the demonstration, as long as it has an input and an output. And I'm going to drop it in the middle here. Make sure I'm over the link here, dropping it, and you'll see that it automatically pushed the rightmost node further right and introduced a margin. Okay, so we can change that margin, the amount that it pushes the other nodes over, in order to accommodate the new node. And how we do that is by going up to Edit, down to Preferences, right here in Editing. Okay, the Editing tab. We're going to scroll down to Miscellaneous. Further, right here we read Node Auto Offset Margin. It's set at 20 pixels. We can alter that to 120. Enter. And now, if we introduce another node, Shift A for Add, we'll do this guy here. I'm going to drop him in there. And now that you'll see that we have a much larger margin introduced when I drop it down. You can change the direction of the auto offset. So right now, by default, it's moving everything to the right. If I do Shift A again, add another node. Can't do inputs. Let's just this guy right here. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually we'll drop it down here. I'm going to hold down T. Okay, I'm going to hold down T as I drop it, and it will now move everything to the left. So here we go, holding T down, dropping it, and as you can see, it has moved everything over to the left. That's something that can happen, but just so you are, typically not, if you're being careful and paying attention to what you're doing, that's not going to happen. This mostly happened because I had been changing the margins. Anyway, so that's auto offset. Really simple, easy tool to use. I'm going to clear the board now, and we're going to start talking about snapping. One last thing I forgot to mention, to turn auto offset on and off. If you don't want it active, if you come over to View, I believe, it is the third option down. There's a little a toggle switch here, a check mark, auto offset. This is how you turn it on and off. Okay, jumping over to snapping. You'll see this little horseshoe magnet icon here. Okay, click that, and snapping has now been activated. A lot of the kind of problems from the previous one, if you watch that one, stems from the fact that you'll notice that when I turn snapping on here and off, it turns on up here. Likewise, if I turn snapping on up here, it also turns on down here. Snapping is a global function. Now, the options available up here in the 3D viewport for 3D material manipulation, sort of snapping with nodes and vertices and everything, is a bit more expansive than what you get down here in your nodes editor. And there's kind of a reason for that, but just to kind of clarify a couple of things, if you're going to be working in your node editor to keep it working the best possible, you're going to want not increment selected. Okay, you want to select edge. I found edge works the best. So I'm going to select edge here, and you'll notice that these options, closest, center, median, and active, are the same options that show up if I select anything other than grid here. So I'm going to select node X, and you'll see that closest, center, median, and active show up here as well. Okay, so before we jump into those, let's talk about grid really quickly. Grid is as basic as you can get. It's probably exactly what you think it is. If I introduce a node, you'll see that as I move my cursor around, it snaps to the background grid. Nice and easy. You can quickly just fill it up and organize it pretty quickly just with grid snapping. So I'm going to duplicate this, pop one right next to it, duplicate again, set it down there. I can grab them all, duplicate them again, and do that. So duplicate is Shift D. We'll talk about that a little bit in the next video, but for now, that's how you can, duplicate your nodes quickly and easily. And yeah, so let's get into some of the weird things now with snapping. Now I've gained a little bit more understanding for how this works. So again, I don't think this is something that too many people really play around with or use, because there's still several bugs and issues that arise when you use any of these. Node X. Okay, I'm going to select that first, and we're going to drop. Let's do this. I'm going to drop a Boolean here. I'm going to drop something just a little different for visual clarity. And we'll set these guys over here to get a better layout. I'm going to select grid just for a second to get a nice friendly outline here, or alignment, I guess. Okay, so now I've got 4 cylinders tightly stuck together, right? So let's select these guys, and we're gonna turn on node X, and we're gonna select closest. Before I do whole group sort of stuff really quickly, I'll show you what it does individually. I'm gonna hit G to grab it, and I'm gonna pull it over here. And as I get closer to the Boolean's right edge, it will snap my cylinder's right edge to Boolean's right edge. Likewise for the left edge as well, like that. So nice way to quickly line up different nodes. Now center, median, and active. Active still doesn't appear to be working the way it should be, but all the same, let's stick with node X. So what this is doing is it is simply snapping me to horizontally defined areas, which those specific areas are the edges of other nodes that have already been laid down. So hit G to grab it, like this, right? We just went over that. Now, if I select a, let's pull them in close here. Now, if I select a group of these guys, hit G for grab, you'll notice that the first one, the active one, is the one that is aligned here. Okay. Oops. I'm going to shift select this guy, so now this one is the one that's selected. And you'll notice it still selects the leftmost node. Okay, now we're going to show median and center. These two are similar, but they don't quite operate exactly the same. So let me show you exactly what's happening here. So we're going to select center first. Now I'm going to grab, I'm going to pull everything off to this. Well, let's do this. Let's get this guy in the middle here. All right, now I'm going to select these guys. I'm going to hit G, and I'm going to start coming into the edge of Boolean. And as soon as I hit it, you'll notice that I immediately lined up into the very center of the second one over. There's a reason for this. When we are snapping in node editors, okay, each one of our node blocks here, our nodes, it's laid out in typical fashion, but the center of this guy, okay, where it's the point on it that is counted as it, okay, is right here, the upper left-hand corner. All right. So being that, if I have all 4 of these selected, we're talking about this upper left-hand corner, this upper left-hand corner, this one, and this one, and Blender is calculating the center based on the 2 furthest, I guess, node anchors. Let's just give it a name. So, which are this one and this one. Okay. So this node anchor right here and this one right here, the actual center between these two is, think about it this way. This node, if this node wasn't here, its center would still be right here. So, well, you know what I mean? It's represented as being right here. So the middle of this span from here to here is the center right here. So that is a dead center between this anchor point and this anchor point when it's there. Without it, if we got rid of that one and just selected these ones, it would just use this one and this one, which means it would be smack dab in the middle of here. So let me just show you. So I'm going to hit G, grab it, and you'll notice it's smack dab right in the middle of the first 2. So hopefully you see how that works. Center will always calculate the very center between the leftmost and the rightmost node anchors. Okay, so I'm going to explain this as clearly as possible. With this setup here, we're on median. Okay, just so we're clear, with center, I've got these 2 selected. I'm going to hit G and pass my snap mark right here, where it's snapping. Okay, so now I'm just going to drop it there. Okay, so we have a good idea of where it is. It's right in the center between our 2 node anchor points. Okay, so that's where it's snapping us. All right, now I'm going to duplicate this guy right here, and one more time right here. Now with center, okay, grabbing all these guys, it's going to, there's not going to be any difference. It's still right in the center. So again, G, yep, still right in the center, exactly where it is. However, with median, hitting G here, just to emphasize this point, I'm going to get rid of these 2 guys one more time, hit G, and show you that it's exactly the same point, right? It's doing the same thing center's doing. However, unlike center, when I duplicate this guy, Shift D, snap, Shift D, snap, I'm going to select all of them, hit G. Now it's offsetting. Okay, it's shifting based on kind of the weighted distance of each, of each additional node. It's quite similar to how calculating the median, like mathematically, right? The mathematical median of a series of numbers. It's a bit of a similar sort of a concept that we're having going on here. So the more weighted something is, or the more you have closer to one side, the more it's going to shift where it's going to snap you. So that's the central difference between active still doesn't seem to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. If I shift select this, this node, hit G, okay, it's doing the same thing as if I shift select this one and hit G. It's snapping to the same exact place. It's not tracking the active node. So that is definitely a bug, which I'm going to submit. But those are the behaviors for these 4 basic types. Now, node X, node Y, and node XY are all very similar. The only difference is node X is what we've just been doing. It's snapping things across a horizontally marked, snapping sort of thing. We're snapping to the edges, the sides, left and right. Node Y is going to be doing it vertically. We're snapping to vertically assigned levels, usually the top and bottom of other nodes. And node X and Y, or X/Y, does both of them at the same time. So that about covers that. The only thing I needed to add to this one that I mentioned in the last one, so you are aware, is, let's move these guys over a little bit. In adding, whoops, wrong menu there. Okay, in adding a frame. Okay, I'm going to drop these guys. Let's see, I'm just going to drop all these guys in the frame. Now, see, last time we had the same issue, but I'll walk you through it. Okay, so again, we are node X, and let's do center, I guess. I'm going to select it, or hit G to grab it so we can move it, and you'll notice when I get over here, it's just kind of behaving a little weird. That was center. Closest. Huh. Well, this is not doing what it was doing last time. Oh, you know what? It might have been because I had increment on. Let's see if that... Nope. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Oh, there we go. Now this one's getting weird. Yep. So I think that's... You can't see it again, can you? Okay, so I'm getting two... It's splitting and flashing two of these. One on each side of my... There you go. You see that rip? That vertical V-hold rip, or whatever they call it. It just happens to be like so... You know what I'm going to do for this? I'm going to take a video of it so you can get a better idea of what's happening. So you're going to get some cheap cell phone feed here for a second. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. And yeah, very, very strange. Unless I'm snapping, but if I'm not being, if I'm not attempting to snap, if I'm outside of a snap zone, that's, where was that? That was median, so center should, there we go, yep. And so I think what's happening, it appears that this is only an anomaly that happens when snap 2 increment is selected, because it didn't look like, I mean, it still is weird, it's still shoves everything clear over to the right, but at least it's not flashing crazy. So I'm pretty sure that's what, I wonder if any of these other ones. Doesn't look like it. It looks like it's only the increment one that does it. Yeah, there it goes. Apparently it's only under increment that's doing this. So yeah, how crazy is that? That my recorder is just recording at just the right frames per second, that it's missing all the extra rips here, except every now and then, you know, they kind of sync up and you get this weird frame rip for a second. How bizarre is that? But I mean, look, you can notice something's weird because it's got the snap line, this vertical snap line that's just sitting there without anything to snap to. Okay, so that's my warning with that. Be careful with that. And there is one more bug I wanted to make mention of before we wrap this video up, and that is, let's kill those. That in the let's blow this up a little bit. In the instance that you have, you know what, let's do this. Move these guys over, and I'm just going to duplicate a grip of these guys. Okay, I'm going to hit G, and now I'm going to move my cluster here far outside the bounds of my editor to the point where it will scroll in whatever direction I'm moving it. So I'm going to, okay, notice first where we're snapping here, okay? So, you know, so closest is kind of weird. Quick side note. Now I'm stuck. See, okay, there's some weirdness that happens. I'm totally stuck in this kind of vertical thing. So let's drop that. I'm going to grab them again, and I'm going to scroll down, back the other way, and back up. And there's my guys right there. Now you see here with this snap, that has completely shoved everything all off to the side, right? So it's just kind of, there's really gimmicky sort of things that happen when you drag your cluster outside of your, you know, visible editor frame, and I don't know. That's just another kind of buggy thing. See how it's just a completely different thing going on here and here than over here. It's just not. And I think the more I go over, yeah, now it's completely off there. So I think something's getting, you know, something internal, right? Something's getting misaligned. There's some sort of misalignment that's happening that's causing this. So that's just another bug just to be aware of. I'm in the process of submitting a couple of bug reports for these, so hopefully they'll take care of them soon enough. All right, that is it for arranging nodes, and I will see you guys in the next one, editing.